We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for. I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines, all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating insider, if you will. On each episode, you'll hear commentary from my producer, Julie Kraftchick, and other surprise co-hosts. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. We've visited this topic before, but we're going to bring it back because it's such a popular topic people want to talk about. It's all about making the first move as a woman. And so our guest today, her name is Amanda. She has some words of advice for all of us who are thinking about making the first move and maybe are not accustomed to doing that. So just a little background about who she is. She's been in San Francisco for 6 months, originally from San Jose. She's 26 years old and currently in a monogamous relationship. Enlighten us, Amanda. Enlighten us. How do you do it? How do you make the first move?
So a little bit of background. I was in a 4-year relationship that ended about a year ago. So I have about a year of being single in a big city and kind of just introduction to modern dating as we know it. So before I was in this long-term relationship, there were no dating apps. We just met like in college or whatever. And so now I'm getting more familiar with the scene and it's just been really slow. Like if you are a single girl and you're going out to the bars and especially in San Francisco more than other places. If you are expecting like someone to approach you, like it's not gonna be easy.
It doesn't happen.
It does not happen. Because I don't know if it's the men here or if it's just the new age where like people have 25 other people in their pocket at any given time. Like, why would they take that risk and put themselves out there and like talk to someone at a bar that might be single, might not be interested in men,
but
might
also in the current environment of Me Too and like, you know, when are they overstepping their boundaries? Yeah, it's a very confusing time.
There's a lot of things working against people being as proactive
and aggressive.
Very true. They've probably been shut down a million times. So yeah, I think I was expecting a lot of that being single, but of course that's not going to change much when you're in a relationship because people at the bar don't know you're single anyways.
Exactly.
And so I don't know what I was expecting, but I kind of just got sick of just like waiting around, like hoping that cute guy across the bar would talk to me. And so it started I was very hesitant at first, and it took a lot of like wing womaning, like my friends coming with me to talk to them guys or the friends actually doing all the talking for me. But I think I got into like this habit and groove, something that ended up working.
So what, do you have like a formula that you follow? Do you have a line that you use each time? Do you have like specific body language? Give us all the dirt.
Yeah. I think I think we want to start with like the entry level,
step by
step to kind of build into the confidence, because it takes a lot of guts just to walk up to someone and like either compliment them or like start a conversation, because it's very obvious like what you're doing, and especially if you're a woman approaching a man because they don't expect it. And so kind of the first step is watching for like eye contact. It's very hard to approach a group or just some guys at a bar who aren't interested in talking to you, because you'll, of course, like they're here to talk to their friends, or they're here to have a drink after a long day. It's not recommended to just approach anyone. They should show like some form of interest. And so I usually look for like that first eye contact.
Okay.
Your eyes have met.
Okay.
That makes sense because people are going for various reasons.
Yeah.
They could be in relationships. They could just be catching up.
But I would argue no guy is going to be upset about a girl approaching them at a bar, even if they didn't go to meet someone.
Right.
They're still going to welcome that with open arms.
Well, I don't know. They're not that approachable, because like if they're caught off guard or they're in like a serious conversation, they might be more hesitant. Anyway, but if they make eye contact with you, it's probably fine.
Okay.
They weren't so engaged in their current conversation.
Right.
They could look away.
It's on.
Exactly.
So that is what you look for. And then what happens next is, depending on how like gutsy you're feeling, you could just go over there and just like make conversation, or you could invite your girlfriend or your guy friend to just walk over there and like, you know, casually hang around and then like mention something like general, like, oh, what drink are you having? Or like, do you go to this bar often? Something like that. And then it's kind of like a friendly, casual group setting.
So what were some of the other like conversation openers that you would use?
Oh my gosh, it's super, super funny because like in the beginning, this is all and kind of new, it was new to my friends too. It's not a common thing or it's not done like successfully. So I remember one of the first times I did it, I made eye contact with this guy at a bar, maybe like 5 times. I was like, okay, it's very clear that like he's interested, I'm interested, like what happens next? And like usually I would just wait and hope that he would approach me and like go home kind of disappointed, like, oh man, like what could have been?
Right.
It never was.
Because he never approached you.
Most nights.
Yeah. And so I was kind of sick of those nights. Like it had been maybe like 6 months of being single, and I was like, I was complaining to my friend. I was like, man, this guy and I have been locking eyes for like the last 20 minutes. I don't know, I'm too sober to approach him. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't know what to say. And she's like, here, like, let's just go over there together. And this is my roommate. She's like super sweet. So we walk over there. Of course, he noticed it. We've been looking at each other for like 20 minutes. And my roommate, never having done this before, at least not like recently, maybe not since like college, she looks at him and she goes, hey. And he's like, hey. And she's like, what are your hobbies?
Oh my God.
What are your hobbies? Oh, man.
Yeah. And
man.
He was so thrown off guard. It was so...
I would be too if someone said that.
What are your
That's
hobbies?
hilarious.
I know, and he like totally choked, and then it was like kind of awkward, and then he was like, Amanda, what are your hobbies? And then I started talking about like, okay, I like going rock climbing, I like traveling, I'm new to the city, and then that's when he was like, okay, I have something to work with.
Yeah.
And then he started talking about rock climbing.
I'm just like envisioning this conversation.
Honestly,
and how awkward
it was super awkward, but then eventually she left, and like we were talking and like hitting it off. off.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the night ended like 10 minutes after that, but we exchanged numbers.
Okay.
And actually we like started texting each other, and it was like the interaction was funny because we were texting like, do you want to go on a date like that's longer than 5 minutes, or do you want to meet like
and what are your
intentionally?
other hobbies?
exactly. So, and I actually ended up dating that guy for like the next month. So
Oh, nice.
it was it was more promising than most people I met on dating apps.
What about online dating and dating apps? Were there any times that you made the first move there?
Yeah, I think on the dating apps, I mean, there's Bumble, which the woman is expected to make the first move, but that's really just like that first interaction. It's not expected of a woman to like ask the person out on a date on the Bumble generally, but I didn't know that. So when I joined Bumble, I thought it was like all women do everything, like initiate, ask on date, and then like follow up. And so I was approaching it as such. And like it wasn't only until like maybe 2 months after I like was talking to my friends, I was like, you guys, like I'm having trouble finding like date spots to suggest. And they're like, why are you doing that? I was like, aren't you supposed to be doing that? And they're like, no, like Bumble is the woman like opens the conversation. You don't necessarily have to do anything after saying hi. And so I did take that, very like
So what were the guys' reactions though when you
like
were doing all that? They'd probably be like, thank God,
the work for them.
Yeah. So needless to say, I went on a lot of dates.
Okay, so
Right.
basically being direct and like just because I think a lot of women, myself included, I feel like I have the opener on Bumble and then it gets really awkward.
Yeah.
So like what would you just take it to the next level and be like, let's meet up?
Yeah. And that's kind of another thing. Like if it's not expected for you to like ask someone on the first date, you're kind of just waiting around in this conversation that could go on for days.
It's in limbo forever.
Right.
And then just dies.
Yeah.
Basically.
So like it's really nice to like take initiative and, make the first move on and kind of take control of your own dating life, really.
That is so fascinating because I had a conversation with a guy friend about Bumble and I said, what are your expectations of the women on Bumble? And he's like, I just expect the woman to do everything. So I expect the woman to open, to ask me out, to plan. And he said it's really disappointing because the only messages I get are like, hey, hello, hi.
Yep.
So I think there's a little bit of confusion with how people use Bumble because I do think a lot of women like myself use it as an opener. And then I wait for the guy to ask me out.
Literally dies.
And it literally dies because the guy's probably also wondering, well, you open, so should you make that first move? So maybe we should just all clarify right now. If you're a woman on Bumble, just do the asking out. Just do it. Just do it.
You have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose.
So did you carry this to other dating apps or was it just Bumble?
Yeah, that's a thing. It was like, it started off in person. I was like, I don't really care what's going to happen. Like the worst thing that happens is they're not interested and you have like 2 minutes of small talk with a stranger. It's like not that bad. And most of the time that has happened to me where I've approached someone and they ended up like being in a relationship or they like were with friends and they wanted to get back to their friends. But like I always made like a few friends. Like we would add each other on Facebook afterwards. And so it was always fruitful, always. Like the worst case is you made a new friend or a connection.
That's not bad.
Right. Best case is you meet your forever person.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But you're talking about in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so anyways, like that mentality of like approaching someone in person really gave me the confidence. Like I have nothing to lose. And I definitely don't have anything to lose online. Like I don't know this person. It's not
so
embarrassing.
true. Yeah. You don't even know if they're a real person.
I know.
Whatever. I could be talking to a bot, damn bot.
Yeah.
Was there any time that it didn't go well?
No, I would have to say the times where it didn't go well, it was just like either awkward, but I'm kind of an outgoing person, so I can pretty much talk to a wall. And so it usually ended up with like, just like, oh, it was really nice to meet you.
Right. Okay. I mean, what is the worst that could happen? That they could say, I'm in a relationship, but
or I'm not interested in you. But they're not going to say that anyways.
They're not, because women don't say that.
Right.
Either
You're either, you say you're in a relationship even if you're not, or you just like, I need to get going or something. It's never like, you're a disgusting human being. Like, no one's going to say that.
Yeah. It's the fear, though, right? It's the fear of rejection that we have in all of us. And we've talked about this on previous episodes. Men are so much better at handling rejection in this context because they've been doing it all their lives. They've been like
trained
approaching and asking out. But women handle it a lot harder because we aren't used to being rejected because we don't do the asking out.
Right.
But you're saying, and I feel like this is a numbers game. The more times you approach,
the less that fear gets.
Mhm.
So then the less fearful you get when approaching people.
Yeah, you get better at it. I also think there's like a scale at how aggressive you want to come on. I feel like a lot of men come on very, very aggressive and like
Yeah.
immediately compliment you or say something so awkward. You're like, this is grimy even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if you approach it casually, they can't reject you because you haven't really done anything.
But I would
Right.
say, Amanda, if two guys came up to me at a bar and asked me what my hobbies are, I'd be like, what the fuck? I'd be like,
Exactly.
my hobbies are not talking to you.
Right.
Because
Well-
that is really weird.
Okay, but let's backtrack. If he was like the hottest guy ever, you'd probably have that same reaction to like this guy that was like, this is awkward, but let's see if I can work with it.
But I guess you're right. There was a precedent that was set where you guys were making eye contact. So there was some sort of attraction that was already established.
Exactly.
It wasn't just like cold calling someone.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
the key. Step 1, make eye contact.
Yeah,
Your
you gotta
chances.
warm
I
it
like
up
that.
a little bit. Warm it up a little bit. Yeah.
So, okay, so besides what are your hobbies, what were some other more successful
Julie really
ways?
wants the lines. Let's
I
make a
definitely am
list.
not going to go up to someone and say, what are your hobbies? Let's just be clear.
We had a previous guest on our show, Taylor, who later revealed that her name's actually Melissa, came on the show and said one of her favorite lines was pretending she could read the menu and saying, I forgot my glasses. Can you read
Oh,
the menu
Yeah,
for me?
or like, I recognize you from somewhere.
Yeah.
Do I know you?
yeah.
Or,
Have
like-
you done any of these sort of lines?
wow, that's even more bold. Because did she mention if she had done eye contact with them before?
No,
No,
she didn't
no.
say anything
She's-
about eye contact.
She's a cold caller.
Wow.
She just cold
See?
approaches
Yeah, I
them.
don't have what it takes for that.
It's fine. It's different approaches.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So yours is more like eye contact, and if that, you'll just make like something like.
Yeah, mine's very low risk. But another line that was like funny, and I just want to kind of get this out so people don't feel too like pressured on when you approach someone. You have to say like the perfect thing. Really, you can just say almost anything.
Yeah.
And so there was this one case. I was at Novella.
Another good pickup spot.
Yes, and I had been making eye contact with this guy for maybe like the last 2 minutes, and then my friend had called an Uber, and I had amassed the courage to like approach this person. I was going to, and then my friend's like, nope, the Uber's here, like we gotta go now. And I was like, oh no. And so I like started walking out the door. I was like, all the regrets were hitting me. I was like, oh no, like what could have been? And so I was like, maybe I was one shot too deep in, but I had the confidence to do it. So I turned back around and I was like, hey, wait, like hold the Uber. Like, I'm just going to talk to this guy real quick. And my friend's like, what guy? And so I like ran to like the back of Novella. And it's so awkward at this point because like there's no one there. And it's like him and his friend in the back. And so I'm like walking pretty fast. And I'm like, I just go over there. But right before I go over there, I have like this like freeze. I'm like, wait, what am I going to say? I was like, well, I already walked this far. Needs to say he was really cute. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean,
very
he's
cute.
got to be worth
You're
it.
coming back from the Uber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Risky and bad.
Oh,
Uber
yeah.
review. And so I go over there, and him and his friend they're smiling, of course, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Amanda." And then they were like, "Hi, I'm Alex," and "Hi, I'm Joe." And then and then I was like, "Well, you guys look really cool," and I thought we were making. I don't know. I don't really remember what I said, but I was just like, "Oh, I thought like I should say hi." I think that's exactly what I
Wow.
said. Yeah, I was like, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm like glad you said hi." And then Alex was like, mind if I get your number? I was like, sure, yeah. My friends and I are about to Uber to Chambers right now. And so, like, maybe you guys should join us. And they're like, okay, maybe. And then got his number and then went to Chambers. 15 minutes later, they show up and they, like, get to the bar and they're buying all my friends, like, shots. And I'm having this grand old time. And I ended up talking to that guy for actually, like, 3 months.
Wow.
See,
Yeah.
I
what
love
could
it.
have been, right?
It
Coulda,
was.
woulda,
Seriously.
shoulda.
I like it
You
'cause
took
it's
a
like
chance.
it's bold, but it's also like low pressure too.
Yeah.
Super, super low risk.
But okay, so I do want to say this though. You're a very pretty girl, but not everybody's going to elicit the same kind of response. So what would you say for people who are like trying to muster up the courage, who may not be as like attractive or have the energy that you give off, which is like you're an extrovert and you're fun and you're like social and out there.
Mhm.
And don't say drinking either, because I mean, we all know that liquid courage can get us somewhere. But what are some other ways that people can muster up that courage to talk to people?
Yeah, and assuming like no eye contact with this person.
Yeah, well, you know what? Can we talk about eye contact for a sec? Because you keep talking about eye contact.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Very few times have I been to a bar and noticed anybody making eye contact because I'm not even making eye contact. I think it's something we need to be more aware of. Right?
I have had friends to swear by it also, and I've always had trouble with it.
Me
My
too.
entire
It
feels awkward to me. Yes.
Like, what's awkward when they're looking at you or you looking at them?
No, when you look at them and they see you and you're like, oh, fuck.
I think that's like, because then it's not just looking at them, you've got to hold it for a little
Yeah, you got to hold it for a little
contact,
bit.
right? And then I'm always like, am I staring them down or am I not looking enough?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just very casual, like lock eyes. It's obviously awkward. They usually like hold it longer, and then you just like laugh it off and like look down, but you're like smiling, and that's like usually enough.
I mean, it is the universal signal. It has been for years.
It is, but it's so hard to master because you have to hold it. They say for 5 seconds or longer. They say 5 seconds.
Way.
5 seconds is a long ass time.
Yeah.
So maybe for people who are not as extroverted, maybe they can just practice making eye contact.
That's true.
Maybe that's step number 1.
Right. But also, I would dare say that even if you're not attractive or even if you're awkward, like approaching someone, the worst thing that could happen to you is like that conversation is 5 lines. It's not that bad. Like,
right.
Because if you don't come off as like immediately like, will you date me?
Yeah,
you have nothing
right.
to lose. Yeah.
Well, what Taylor said on her episode, which I thought was brilliant, was she would approach the guys herself, but she knew she had a support network behind her. So her friends would be at the table. Her train of thought was, if I get rejected, I have a group of awesome friends to go back to who think I'm awesome as well. So maybe like having that support network with you.
Yeah.
Having a friend or a group of friends.
Right. Especially if that friend goes with you.
Yeah. I mean, in your case, just make sure they don't ask a dumb question or do. How did you and your current boyfriend meet? You guys met on Hinge, and then who messaged first?
Yeah, I think he liked me first, but I opened the conversation.
What did you open with?
Comment about his picture or something.
Okay. Who asked who out?
I was in Jamaica when we matched, and I was like, well, when I get back to the city, I kind of got to catch up on like my dating. I haven't like been on a date in like 2 weeks. I have time, and so I just like looked down my apps and I suggested, hey, like, what are you doing Sunday at 10 p.m.? It was like literally my flight lands.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, let's get back to it. I feel like I've been very relaxed on vacation. Just want to like get back into the day.
Wow.
You're so efficient.
So you did basically make the first move.
I did, and I had like half of my head was like braided from Jamaica. I just like did not care at all.
I guess that's kind of a great takeaway or a lesson is you just have 0 fucks given. Like, who cares?
Exactly. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, and it's your life, and you kind of said, I want to get back into dating the minute I land. Yep. So this guy is going to be that person.
Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of like, I was on this vacation, like it was an all-inclusive resort, but I was with my friends, but everyone else was couples. So, maybe that like...
How long have you guys been together?
We've been together for like 3 months.
And has he ever brought that up? Like the fact that you were the one that initiated?
No.
Huh.
So I think it's interesting because you're in your like mid-20s, and we do see a generation difference of approaching. Like older men and older women in their like 30s to 40s have more traditional viewpoints a lot of times.
For sure.
Don't want to speak for everyone, but just overall. And I think people in their 20s, the millennial generation's a little more like, I don't give a fuck, I'll make the approach.
Yeah. And no rules.
Yeah, like do gender roles cross your mind of like, I'm going to wait for the man? I'm assuming not.
No. The only place where it gets kind of awkward is like just the first date paying.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
I mean, I always offer to pay on the first date, and I always mean it. And I don't get like mad if I end up paying half because, hey, I offered, and I actually think it's fair. But it's usually like a bad sign if they let you pay on the first date.
Right. I think a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah, but I think it can get mucky if you're the one asking. I do see that perspective. Like, I guess also because I personally have been on a date where the guy asked and he picked this super nice restaurant, and then he actually like had me pay half the bill, and I was like pissed because I'm like, you don't know my financial situation. You don't know anything about me. If you want me to pay half, go to coffee or drinks. What are your like first date suggestions if you're the one making that move?
I think I wouldn't go to an expensive place on the first date. Yeah,
Okay.
It's usually like coffee, drinks, or like an easy dinner. But yeah, I guess why do other people think it's a bad sign? I think it's a bad sign because in the few times it's happened to me, like maybe like handful of times, like the person wasn't interested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Exactly. So I take it as a sign that they're not interested.
Interesting.
I don't really care about the money loss like I offered.
Interesting, because I think it also works the other way, because I know for me, and we've talked about this, I know you're the same way. Sometimes you'll pay for the whole thing if you're not interested.
Yeah, I'll pay for the whole thing.
Or I'll like pay
fuck
for
you.
half if I'm like, I feel bad like taking this from someone.
Yeah.
Like if I know I have no intention. I guess there's not really a rhyme or reason.
I
Everyone
would love
interprets
to
it
hear.
differently.
We need to do an episode about this, and we keep talking about it. I would love to hear from some men about this, because I also have some guy friends who would say, if she offers to pay, I'm going to let her because she might be angry if I don't let her.
Honestly, I just think it's such a personal thing at this point. I just don't, like, there's not really a right answer, and it could be that they aren't interested. It could be that they want to empower you as a feminist.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's so many things.
But
I don't know if we can make any assumption.
On the first date, though?
Yeah.
People do, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
I've had a lot of guy friends who say, if she offers to pay, I'm taking that as a sign that she wants to know that we're equals.
Yeah.
And I will give her that.
I think the takeaway from this is, like, there's no signs on any of it.
I know. You can't make any assumptions. So if you are willing to pay, then just offer. And you just have to expect that you might have to pay.
So back to the gender roles. I know you obviously have no qualms on that. Like, clearly you're making first moves. What about your friends and like other people that are your age range?
Yeah, I would say the majority of my female friends will not ask them out on that first date. Not that they are doing it like consciously.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just they're not used to it. It's really a muscle that you have to exercise.
Yeah.
So you're kind of different in the way you approach dating than your friends.
Yeah,
Would you say that?
I think so.
Like, do they talk to you about this? How different you are with approaching men? Or do they want to be more like that? Or...
That's a fair question. I think we kind of avoid talking about it because we like maybe fundamentally disagree. Like it's a sensitive topic not amongst women.
Why is that?
They don't want to be set up for like that rejection. They don't want to put in that effort. You are putting yourself on the line.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because I was going to say, like, before we were talking about like, has just generations changed with like women's equality and different gender roles, but it sounds like it's not necessarily that. It's more about the rejection still, that women just are hardwired differently, that we fear that more, or I guess from years past we weren't expected.
Yeah.
And that still hasn't gone away.
Well, I feel like Amanda's generation, they're getting like the consequences of our generation, which is we send these very conflicting signals out there. On one hand, we say, I want the guy to approach me at a bar. And then on the other hand, we're like, I want to take control of my situation. I'm an independent woman. And when Julie and I talked to Brian Howie on a previous episode, he was like, stop saying you're an independent woman, because that just signals that you don't need men. It was a very interesting discussion.
That's not necessarily how women would see it.
Right.
Right.
But then men are just confused, and it's,
What I do appreciate about what Amanda's saying, it's sort of representative of people in their 20s, which is like, I don't know what the rules are. I kind of just want to do things my way.
Yeah.
So if this is how I want my dating life to look, then I will do that. You know, I will go approach this person, or I have no qualms about asking someone out the minute I land from my vacation. For our generation, I feel like there's still a little bit of a filter before we do anything. We're always thinking consequences. And what are the consequences?
Like, you brought the rules up, because I feel like our generation, there were, I mean, even a generation before, there was like the book, the rules, like don't text first, like all these like really specific.
Wait 3 days.
Yeah, like very, and it used to be even like worse. And I think like our like people in their like 30s and 40s still have some of that, but have also adapted to the new way. Where I don't like. Have you even heard of the rules and referenced that?
No.
It's like, like I think that stuff has gone away. And I think some of it's been like the internet podcasts, like it's been more real stories opposed to like, here's this hypothetical rule book that you should apply to every dating situation ever. knowing no situational information
at all. I remember in college, my friend Christine and I had a list of rules with our crushes. So she and I sat down, we printed out this list of rules, and it was like, do not make eye contact for more than 3 seconds. Do not answer his phone calls. There was no texting back then. So do not answer his phone calls the first ring. Like, it was 20 rules. And we thought that's how you get men. Was by abiding by these rules.
But I actually think some men think that way too, because I actually remember having this conversation with my friend's boyfriend who was in his like late 30s, early 40s. And then another friend that was like 25 or 26, 2 guys. And the older guy made a comment like one of the reasons like my friend got him, these were like the exact words, was because she played the game right and like didn't text all the time and like all the stuff. And like the guy in his 20s was just like, what are you talking about? Like it didn't even like register. But the guy like in his late 30s and 40s, again, this is not everyone, this is one person. But he made a comment like, oh yeah, like if it was too easy, I wouldn't have been as interested. But I don't think other men are thinking that way anymore.
So what would you guys say to a guy who says, hey, I really enjoy the chase, and if the woman makes it too easy, I lose interest? What would you say to someone like that?
It's time to take a quick break so we can tell you about the latest service we have been building over here at Dateable. We've created a platform to connect you with vetted experts from our network to help with everything from coaching with dating, therapy, dating profile reviews, and even ways to get real feedback about your dating style. The sessions typically run from 30 minutes to an hour and can all be done via Skype or Google Hangouts, so you can be anywhere. Listeners have been sharing how worthwhile their sessions have been, with comments about how easy the coaches are to talk to, how they have provided a new perspective, and how they have created actionable ways to inspire change. To meet the coaches and book your session today, visit dateablepodcast.com/coaching. Now back to the show.
So what would you guys say to a guy who says, hey, I really enjoy the chase, and if the woman makes it too easy, I lose interest? What would you say to someone like that?
Well, it's like, do you even want to date someone like that? Right? Because that's who he is. Like, he should probably be in a relationship with someone who like likes to be chased.
I think I would say 2 things similar to what Amanda said is like, one, do you want to be spending all your time chasing some guy? Like if you're in that relationship, let's say you lock him down, do you want that relationship? And the second piece is, no, I don't either. Second is, does he really want a relationship, or does he want to be playing a game?
Okay. So that says a lot about where they are in their life.
I think so. I personally think when people are really game focused, it means that they're not ready for something real.
Okay. Amanda, this is a question for you. When you were out there dating, and if you did approach a guy that if you were really attracted to him, and he ends up not being as interested in you, did it ever cross your mind to win him over? How do I get him interested in me? How do I get the ball back in my court?
Interesting. No, because I mean, if you're really approaching someone and they're not interested, the chances that they're going to change their mind based on what they know about you, basically just physical appearance, is so slim.
So that's a mindset that we should all change, because you live in a world where it's you are in the driver's seat. But I feel like a lot of us live in a world where the other person drives the situation. For example, if that were to happen to me, for example, I would think, what are some ways I can win him over? Like, do I go back to my friends and like pretend I'm having a ball, and then he'll see what he's missing, right? I start thinking about stuff like that. Or even in any sort of courtship, I think about like, how do I get him to like me? Versus you're kind of like, if I like him, I'm going to approach, see where it goes. And if he doesn't reciprocate, on to the next.
So I was definitely more like what you just described in like my early 20s, and then like early 30s, I was just kind of more on your side of like, I don't really give a fuck. And I know, at least from my personal experience, and I know we've had guests feel the same way, like when I stopped playing those games is when I did attract something real, opposed to like with my ex-boyfriend, like I never did any of that stuff. I was like, I'm going to call you when I want to call you. I'm going to text you when I want to text you. I'm going to be the one inviting you out because I want to. And like, it didn't matter.
Right.
And I think at least I would argue that for me, I don't want to be in a relationship where I do feel like I need to play a game to win someone.
Right.
Yeah, I think it goes back to expectations. A lot of times we communicate our expectations in a wrong way. You expect the guy to behave in a certain manner, but then you don't communicate it. And when they don't live up to your expectations, you build up this resentment towards them. So if you are actually the one approaching or making plans for the first date, you have to actually want to do it.
Yep.
Versus
Right.
being like, oh, I'm just doing this because it's what makes him happy or whatever.
Right.
And then you end up resenting him for not, being that initiator. When we talk about expectations, you really got to know what you're expecting and you have to communicate that clearly.
That's a good point. It's a good segue. I guess, what are some of our takeaways from this whole conversation?
Gosh, you're in the driver's seat of your own life. If you're not driving this car, it's not going anywhere. No passengers are just going to get in your car and be like, hey, you're the love of my life and let's go. You are the one driving your life. So what's going to make you go down a road that you really want to go to versus like this is not autonomous driving here. And it's not going to take you automatically to your right suitor. So I really admire what Amanda's saying, which is, okay, there's a really cute guy at the bar. We've been making eye contact. If I were to leave now without talking to him, I will regret this.
Yep.
I will regret this. But if I were to talk to him right now, the possibilities are endless.
Yep.
Even if he rejects me,
Yep.
the possibilities are still endless.
My takeaway is that this actually isn't a gender thing at all.
Mm.
Like, we've been talking about how it's like unique that the woman's making the first move. And in my opinion, it actually isn't about that at all. It's an ego thing. And I think
ego.
at the end of the day, women, a lot of times, myself included, use it as an excuse of why we're afraid to put ourselves out there and get rejected. Oh, the man should make the first move, or I'm waiting for the guy to do it. I guess my takeaways is that really what you feel, or is it because of your ego? Like, are you using that as a way to hide and not face rejection?
Right. It's your pride. Yeah, it's your pride and your ego.
And I think
agree.
there's men, too, that don't make the first move, and it's not because they're not masculine or any of that stuff. It's also because of their ego, and they're afraid of rejection.
This whole conversation is all about approaching another human being. That's like to the core, right? So we talk to strangers on a daily basis. You talk to your barista, you talk to whoever, like your receptionist or whatever. But for some reason, there's a block when talking to someone that we're attracted to.
Yep.
There is really no difference. If you are talking to someone you're not attracted to, you might be very natural in the way you approach them. But for some reason, when pride and ego and all that gets in the way, then it becomes who makes the first move. Well, fuck all that, because it's just about talking to another human being. If you're going out to a bar, like let's say Novello, if you don't leave that bar talking to another human being that you like a stranger or a new person, then you haven't fulfilled your role of going out. Then why did you go out in the first place, right? We go out in public spaces to meet other people, to talk to anybody.
If your intention is just to catch up with the person you came with, that's fine. That's your intention. Don't beat yourself up like, oh, I didn't talk to anyone and all this. Like, either go with that intention, or if you're going to socialize and meet new people, go and socialize and meet new people.
Yeah, make it a goal to talk to someone you haven't met before. It doesn't have to be someone you're attracted to. It can be anybody.
Yeah, if that's what you want.
Right, if that's what you want. Right.
Yeah, I think my key takeaway would be like, just do what you want. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to regret if you don't do it. And like, it even kind of applies to the first date. Like for me, I think it's pretty standard on a first date that the conversation is like small talk, surface level, but like I don't give a shit what they did today. I don't care where their favorite vacation was. I want to talk about like deeper stuff. Like what do you think about the dating scene? What are you looking for in another person? Personally, like I like to approach those topics like on the first date. And if I scare away someone, then that person was like playing games. They just wanted to have small talk on a first date. And that's not the type of person I want either.
Right. I think that's the other key takeaway is like you're thinking about it. You're not like, oh, it's all about me. But at the end of the day, it's like this person just might not be a right match for me if they're not willing to receive the energy I'm putting out there.
Exactly.
And if you look at it that way, it's not necessarily rejection. It's just that person wasn't the right match.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Blame it on the fit. Like, don't blame it on yourself. It really is a fit.
Right.
thing.
Because you could say a line as bad as one of your hobbies.
Yeah.
And if there's a match, it doesn't matter, right?
It does not matter. Yeah, that's very much true. I mean, we're just looking for compatibility here. It's not rocket science, right? So the only way to find if you're compatible with someone is by talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have time for a quick question
I think
of
we
the
do.
day?
We do.
This comes in from Jenny. Every day I go to Starbucks in the morning and see this really cute guy that just looks like a nice guy. I must say I have a bit of a crush. One day I mustered up the courage to ask him what type of muffin looked good, but the conversation kind of fell flat. He does smile at me though every time I see him, so I feel like he might be open. Any ideas of how to approach him?
Amanda, I feel like you would have a good strategy here.
Wow, that's tough. The tough part is that it fell flat the first time. I would love to ask, I guess, what his response was. Like, maybe Jenny said it in an awkward way and he didn't know how to respond. Also, maybe it was a sexual innuendo. People use muffin as
oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Or maybe it was super early and he was half asleep. You don't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah, or it caught him off guard and he's probably kicking himself right now. Oh, why didn't I continue that conversation?
I would give it another chance. If you see him again, you could maybe crack an inside joke about that muffin, because I think humor is the easiest way to break the ice. Just be like, is it the same muffin as last time? Or I don't know, I would continue the conversation. Sounds like you are regularly seeing this guy.
Yeah.
And so you can you have many chances.
So I can speak from experience here because I've had this happen to me. Something
you have.
similar. And I was the guy made the comment to me and it was about something like salad dressing or something really dumb. I took a note that he was trying to open the conversation. We had a little bit of back and forth and that just kind of died. And I awkwardly was like, oh, I gotta go. But I'm what could I have done or what could Jenny have done to get that name exchange and the number what's the next level?
The next time you see him, take it one step farther and be like, oh, I see you here all the time. What was your name? Just very light. Yeah, and what's your name conversation usually ends up in where do you work? Do you live around here?
Would you ever ask for numbers?
Yeah, that's the thing. If I'm the one making the move, I expect some type of response from them. And so let's say this was me. I think I would try to get their name and then be add them on Facebook or something. And then from then on, I would leave it flat. See, I like the idea of getting connected on some social outlet. Yeah, because then that gives that person an easy, low-cost way of approaching you if they're interested.
Okay, I learned two things in this. One is get the name out there as soon as you can. I have seen this work and is very effective. In this situation with Jenny, what kind of muffin looked good? And they talk about the muffins and it's oh, by the way, I'm Jenny.
Yes.
It's it's nice to be by the way, I want to actually connect with you.
Yep.
That's what that means.
Well, that's why it could have fallen flat because there's only so much you can talk about muffins.
I know, you can't.
You
really can't.
So it's in your head it sounds like a good opener, but I mean it could even be now she could be hey, I see you every day. Do you work around here?
Right.
What's your name? I'm Jenny or something.
Yeah.
And there's something very comfortable about that question because by her saying, oh, by the way, I'm Jenny, she's taking hold of the situation, right? She's controlling the situation. And two is showing him that she respects him. I respect this conversation enough to know what your name is. It's a very comforting question. I think in this situation, there's still eye contact that could be made even before the conversation.
Right.
And so if she sees him again, it could be a knowing nod or something.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. Yeah. And then becomes familiar. Establishing familiarity is actually very important.
Yeah, I like the name too because it makes it feel like you weren't just making small talk. Because if you were just talking about the muffins, he could be oh, she's just curious what muffin to get. He might not even be thinking oh, this was a girl trying to hit on me.
Yeah.
That might not even be crossing his mind.
Yeah, because that's very normal interaction. An old person next to you might say the same thing about your muffin. Yeah.
But in not a sexual way.
Yeah.
Nobody talk about my muffins, okay? Stop talking about my muffins. Enough with the muffins. But that's a very good question because, again, this is one of our most popular topics is how do you carry on the conversation? Sometimes it's easy to start a conversation, but then where does it go from there?
Right.
Especially with online dating, too.
Totally.
Sometimes you get like, you have so much momentum in the beginning,
It
and then
just
all of a
dies,
sudden,
yeah.
it's like 2 days, you have the message, and then it's over. Then you unmatch.
But you're saying if that was you as the woman, just like throw them a
Throw them a line.
Like, who cares? What do you have to lose? You're not going to
What do you have to lose?
I think that is definitely the takeaway of this. What do you have to lose? And I'm going to start making more eye contact.
I know it's hard.
It's
See,
hard.
like even right now, it's a little awkward. Julie and I are making eye contact. It's been like 6 seconds, and I'm like,
we're going to practice.
sweating bullets here.
We're going to practice on each other.
I'm sweating bullets because even sometimes when I do go to like Starbucks, I don't even make eye contact with the barista.
I know.
And then I start practicing that, and it's really hard. You know, when they give your credit card back, and you go, "Thank you."
Yeah.
I usually just look down, but now I'm going to start making
There
more
is
eye
something,
contact.
I mean, there's eye contact has been around forever, but then there's also like,
No,
it's always been like,
it's a new phenomenon.
that's like the universal signal, right?
That's what our eyes are for. I had no idea.
It does establish a connection more when
It
you notice when
does.
someone's looking down and not
It does.
looking at you.
Right.
It shows confidence too.
Mhm.
It really
It
does. It shows so much confidence.
Before we end, one last quick question for you. I don't know, maybe you've always been a naturally confident person. Is that the case, or have you taken like steps to get more confident?
No, I was actually really shy. If you were to ask my high school friends, like, how was she in high school? I just like really never talked. I think working like as a teenager like really helped me open up because I worked at like Hollister, and every person that comes in the door, you have to like shout hello. And so that helped me build my confidence. But then like in my
So get a part-time job
At Abercrombie or Hollister.
10 years ago. Exactly.
Then you're forced to talk to people.
Hello.
Or you can
Welcome.
be that guy on the street that like goes up to everyone like trying to get donations. You know those people.
But to my adult friends, I would say it's like a muscle. Like put yourself out there, and then it just becomes easier.
So you're naturally shy. Hollister helped open it up, and then just from there you've become more.
Blossom from dating. Yeah.
But it is this, we're so complacent in the way we live our lives now. We go to bars with our friends and we stay together with our friends. And it's fine if your intentions are to catch up with your friends, but then you could just go to someone's house. Like, why go to a public place for that? So if you're in a public place, one, I think we could all have better body language, be more open, you know, look around more, notice things more, and make more eye contact. Even if you're in a relationship, it's not going to hurt you to just look more approachable and friendly. It's
or
not
you
that
can
bad.
network. There's so many things.
The possibilities are endless if you're open to it.
Yeah.
But if you leave with regrets, then you already know what your outcome is, which is regret. And if you wait for things to happen, chances are nothing happens.
Right.
All right. Ready to wrap this up. I think Julie and I are going to go out and approach some strangers right now. We're amped up to go. I think Amanda's going to help us.
Eye contact.
I've already thought about what my answer would be to what your hobbies are because I have a whole list of them. So I know how to answer that question. I think everybody else should be prepared for that as well. You never know, right? You never know if you're going to be asked that. Our listeners, we want to hear from you. We are always booking guests for our next season. If you're a guy who has something to say about what we just talked about, we'd love to hear from you, especially if you have a very strong opinion.
Yeah, or if you don't like getting approached.
Yeah, if you don't like the girl making the first move, if you don't like the girl paying on a first date, we want to hear from you. Either way, we love having all different kind of perspectives on this show. Okay, stay dateable.
Your action item for this week is to make intentional eye contact with people, whether it's the person you're passing by on the street or a coworker or a friend you haven't seen in a while. Really hold that gaze and make that intentional eye contact. And once you've practiced making eye contact, then slowly start making eye contact with people you're attracted to. That's the whole point. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches.
500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. If you didn't know already, we have a revamped website with articles, videos, and content all about modern dating. You can also find our premium Why series, where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We've had some great feedback about how actionable these episodes are, so check them out on our website or iTunes Music. Also, visit the site today to see the latest about coaching, where we connect you with Dateable approved experts to help with everything from dating profile reviews, coaching, and even gathering real feedback about your dating style in a personalized and affordable way. To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and auto-download the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player so you never miss an episode.